Hunter, I wanted to kind of give you first and foremost, right off the bat, an opportunity to kind of clarify what you said during the Board of Trustees meetings about wanting to come back in July to try to start football season on time.
Sure. I mean, we have a plan in place, and the first kind of aspect of that plan is the ability to open up our weight rooms and training rooms on a voluntary basis for our student athletes on June the 1st, following in line with the governor's recommendation to allow fitness facilities to open last week. Those are fitness facilities, and we would love to have the opportunity to open those for our student athletes. The key to that June 1st date is all SEC athletic related activities are suspended through May the 31st. So that's that first opportunity that can happen. That's a plan. Mm-hmm. The next part of that plan is, if you back up roughly 6 weeks from September 5th, would take you to mid-July. And we feel like, from a coaching standpoint, talking to our strength and conditioning coaches, our medical professionals, athletic trainers, that 6 week window that hits sometime in mid-July is kind of the sweet spots to still be able to have your student athletes back on campus for football in particular, but also women's soccer and volleyball, and get them prepared, have a reacclimation period for them, and then to start fall practice in time, an on-time start to the fall season. So all that we have right now is plans, and mm-hmm. plans are just that. There's no decisions have been made that we're going to open up our weight rooms on June the 1st for voluntary workouts, or that we will start any type of accountable activity in mid-July, or have a football game on September 5th. That's all just a plan that we're building towards right now.
How hard is it to make these kind of plans with so much unknown? Because it's got to be really hard to have any kind of direction.
Sure. Well, it's not hard to make the plans. Listen, it is hard to make that are within the plans. The plans, quite honestly, our staff, our facilities and maintenance staff, our athletic trainers, our strength and conditioning staffs, the participation from our coaches, everybody's done a tremendous job in building these plans. And these plans are going to be necessary whether we have an on-time start to our fall seasons, whether we're behind a week or two or behind 3 or 4 weeks. And we'll adjust those plans as appropriate when those decisions are made. So building the plans is not the challenging part. It's the making the decisions and when we can kind of get the green light to move forward with those plans.
How have those meetings with the other SEC ADs gone? How helpful has it been to bounce off ideas and thinking with other SEC ADs that are in the same situation as you?
They have been great. When this first started, when we were in Nashville, we had calls 7 days a week for about 3 weeks, and then we backed off to 5 days a week, and now we're down to 3 days a week. But Commissioner Sankey's been incredible in his leadership, bringing us together. We make decisions collectively as Southeastern Conference membership. We've had great dialogue amongst our ADs. We're very collegial. We're competitors, and nobody wants to be at a competitive disadvantage or know that somebody has a competitive advantage over you. But we've been able to reach decisions that we believe are in the collective best interest of all of our institutions and our student athletes.
Have you talked to other ADs, specifically maybe your football season and your non-conference schedules, those ADs, about what they're doing and what they're thinking? You had Notre Dame a couple weeks ago say, if we don't have students on campus, we're not playing. Obviously, that's week 2 of the football season for you guys. So how do communications with other ADs and other conferences go?
Sure. Well, the main communication with other conferences happens through your conference office. Commissioner Sankey has weekly calls with the other Power 5 athletic directors, and so those specific conversations take place at that level. But there are other national Zoom calls. I'm involved in probably 3 or 4 different calls with other national ADs outside of the Southeastern Conference where we're discussing things of your nature. I have not had a specific conversation individual with Jack Swarbuck about the Notre Dame game on September the 12th. Again, we're just trying to get to September right now, and then we'll worry about that next step. So we've had some national dialogue, but we haven't had individual one dialogue specifically.
The one thing that I've heard across the board when we've been able to talk to all of your head coaches is how commendable they are about you and your leadership, how you've handled the situation, especially with your spring sports head coaches. How does it feel as the AD here at Arkansas to have that kind of confidence from your head coaches?
Well, I appreciate all of them saying that, and I admire each and every one of them and how they've handled their business since that all happened. It's been very challenging to most of them. Their profession revolves around practices and games and being around the student athletes, and they're in this because they have a passion for that, and that's been ripped apart from them. For some of them, it's been very positive. We had some female spring sport coaches who have young children, and they've had the opportunity to spend some time with those young children during the spring that I think in talking to them has been very, very valuable for them, that they will never give that time back. And it's been special. We had some coaches who were heading into this that had some health issues of their own that they've been able to spend some time recovering from those. So our entire department with our head coaches has just done an amazing job handling all of this. And we wouldn't be where we are today as prepared as we are to start on June the 1st or July the 15th or September 5th, whatever those dates are, without the hard work of everyone within our department.
But how hard is it for you when you talk to these coaches to not be face to face with your staff, with your coaches, with other administrators at Arkansas? That personally has to be hard.
It's tremendously hard. I think we're getting a little bit used to it now because we have roughly every week we have a Zoom call as head coaches and some of our senior administrators. I try to call each of them on the phone individually every week and talk to them. But what we're all relationship in nature, and I enjoy going to their offices and talking to them, visiting with them in locker rooms after games and talking about their issues face to face. And so that's been a challenge and an adjustment for all of us involved in that, not to have that face to face daily contact and dialogue.
Since you've been here at Arkansas, you've gotten to go through 2 springs of full springs, really, and you've been able to go to College World Series. You've been able to watch the softball team, the track teams win national championships, and none of that has happened. How hard has it been to not see these spring sports come to fruition and see another year of success?
Oh, it's been difficult. Our spring sports of late have been our bread and butter and have had great success. I was having a phone conversation with Coach Van Horn last night and asked him if he was going to take a drive to Omaha just for old time's sake in mid-June, and maybe that was where him and Karen would vacation again. And they were poised for success. Our women's softball team, they were in the top 25. Our track and field programs were actually at the indoor national championship events, fighting for national championships when this all happened. Our golf programs are really, really strong. It was tough to see that come to an end for all of our spring sports student athletes because they started training back in August and September to prepare for their spring sports, and many of them got a third of their season in. If you take our track and field programs, they had not even had their first outdoor meet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to ask you about the scholarships for those spring sports. Now that the NCAA has said you can have some scholarships back for those spring sport athletes, where are you guys in that process of figuring out what to do with that information?
We had 29 student athletes who fell into that category where they were seniors and could get a year of eligibility back. And 22 of those student athletes have let us know that they would like to return to the University of Arkansas, have that extra year of eligibility. That's about a $500,000 scholarship budgetary implication to us that we're going to go ahead and meet. And it's the right thing to do. Again, most of these student athletes that we're talking about had a third or less of their season under their belts this spring, and we're happy to welcome them back and happy to carry the burden of a little bit more of a scholarship next year.
Well, you talk about that money as we kind of switch now, maybe financially. Other schools have cut some salaries, done some reductions, lowered some ticket prices. When you look at that gap now that you have, and possibly maybe some more revenue that you won't have, depending on how the fall goes, are there any changes like that you have explored?
To date, no. We submitted our budget for the 21 fiscal year to the university for them to submit to the system office and ultimately the board for their approval roughly about 2 weeks ago. Some definitive cost efficiencies within that budget, and all of our coaches and administrators did a great job really sharpening the pencils and finding areas where we could be more efficient as a department. But those efficiencies, at least to date, have not involved any salary cuts or reduction of positions, etc.
When you look at what could happen in the fall, some precautions maybe that you've thought about implementing maybe with your players and fans. You see people walking around now in public with face masks. You can't group larger than 6. Any type of precautions like that you guys want to take into action once the fall starts?
Well, again, as part of our plan, I think that you will see masks are very much a part of what we have as a Department of Athletics and across our university. I think that is a way that you can easily help minimize your risk. So, but as from a game operation standpoint, we're looking at everything from a football standpoint. When you arrive on our campus, we had almost 10,000 people per game that took a shuttle from one of the outlying lots of the stadium. And so we've got to look at, do we put more shuttles into service? Do we minimize the number that can be on the shuttles? How do we sanitize those shuttles? And then how do we queue people in line at Razorback Stadium to make that as most efficient and safe as possible? And how do we queue people in line at concessions and create more points of sales at concession stands or other areas of our stadium so people are not standing in line? Do you have to wear masks to games? I read in a Sports Illustrated article earlier this week that was referencing the 1918 Spanish flu, and they had a picture from a Georgia Tech football game where the fans were all wearing masks. And they had college football because Woodrow Wilson, the president at the time, coming out of World War I, thought it was great for the spirit of America to have college football. And we sit here 102 years later, and we're having to make some of the same decisions. Those are some of the things we're looking at, a number of areas within our venues to make them as safe as possible. Alyssa, the biggest thing is that I've charged our staff with is we need to create a level of confidence with our students and their parents that we're doing everything that we can to minimize their risk when they return to our athletic facilities. I need to do the same thing for our staff to create a confidence among their staff that we do what we can to minimize their risk when they return to their work environments on campus. And then that third group is our fans. When they come to Razorback sporting events this fall, that we are minimizing their risk, and we've done everything we can. We don't have a cure for COVID. We can't eliminate it, but what we can do is minimize their risk and create a level of confidence that they are as safe as they can be attending our events.
I love you use that word confidence. There have been other football coaches out there who have said, if it's not safe for students to be on campus, I don't want my players to be there either. How do you help them as family members, as student athletes, have that confidence in you that regardless of what the university does, they could be safe on campus?
Sure. You know, we have developed a Q&A that we're going to send out to parents, trying to answer as many questions as we can about what the environment will be around the Department of Athletics and our athletic facilities and athletic events when their sons and daughters return to campus. We're going to send that out next week. And in the following week, we're planning a series of Zoom calls for parents to jump on with myself and other administrators to answer any questions they have. I think we have a really good plan about how we're going to sanitize and disinfect all of our facilities on a regular basis. I think we have a really good plan about how we're going to screen and walk our student athletes through the various facilities that they need to use on a regular basis. And the parents of those student athletes and the student athletes, they need to have the same confidence in our plan that we have in our plan.
You know, COVID has really changed the way we all go on our day to day, right? And how we approach things and look at outcomes. What do you think this is going to impact on the future, maybe planning as an athletic department, or just the way that things are thought about, maybe having a revenue backup if you were to have something like this happen again, or some lessons learned that you've learned from this whole situation?
We have a significant reserve account between both the Razorback Foundation and the Department of Athletics. And I guess I would say it's what we thought was significant. And now as we're heading to a challenging time, it may not be significant enough. So our budgets have grown from $60 million about a decade ago to $125 million. And during that time, because of the significant growth, we haven't told ourselves no to many things as we move forward. We have not been very efficient in how we spent those dollars. And what we've been able to do during the last 6 to 7 weeks is really take a look at all of our budgets and how can we become more efficient. And one of the things I think our coaches are really learning is how to virtually recruit and what does that look like? And that might be a way for our coaches. You know, one of the things that takes a significant amount of their time is when they go out on the road to recruit prospective student athletes. And you obviously have to get out to a venue to see a person. their sport, but there may be some lessons that we have learned during this last 8 weeks of how we virtually recruit that will help our coaches in their time management moving forward. Also be really a neat, cost efficient way to recruit.
What have you learned about being an athletic director through all of this and the things that you've had to navigate through?
Well, I've had to be really patient. And sometimes that's really hard to do in this role. And it's really hard for all of us in college athletics to be patient. Had to be a great communicator because we're communicating like this all day long. This is Tara. Sorry, I called you Tara. I know you're listening. There's on the screen right there.
Yeah, it's okay.
This is my 6th Zoom call today, and most of my days are like that. And that communication piece, it's really just to take a step back and appreciate what we have in life and the value that being a part of college athletics and whatever your role is, whether you're an athletic administrator or a coach, or whether you're a member of the media that's covering college athletics, we miss it dearly. And we probably at times have taken it for granted. And I don't think I'll ever take the ability to go to a game for granted again. That it's something I terribly miss, and I can't wait to get back at it. And the reason I'm in this business is to help our young men and women, our student athletes, have an incredible experience that sets them up for the rest of their life. And I miss being around them tremendously.
You talk about Zoom. How good are your Zoom skills now?
My Zoom skills are terrible. I told somebody if I had $1 for everybody told me, "Hey, Hunter, you're on mute." A rich man by the end of this. We've got our staff has done a great job in setting me up on Zoom, and they always send me, and I'm really good at just clicking on that link and making sure that works.
I love that you mentioned that you're never going to take a sporting event in person for granted again. We've talked about this in the past, that even before this happened, looking at attendance numbers. Do you think if college football comes back, the absence of sports for so long will help that, or do you think maybe it won't?
My opinion, I think it will help college athletics. I think that there's going to be such a hunger and a passion to be in an in-person venue and to see sports live. You look at that picture from 1918, and it's for the most part a packed picture of stands that people wanted to come to a college football game 102 years ago. And I think you'll see that same passion that our Razorback fans have shown. I think you'll see that on September 5th in Razorback Stadium.
If you want to get excited about something, you just have to go look at Baum-Walker Stadium and the additions that you're putting out there in right field. Yes. That tunnel that's being built to the first base. Mike Irwin wants to know if fans who are sitting behind that third base dugout, will they have the opportunity to move over to that first base dugout?
We're evaluating our seating options for Baum-Walker Stadium for the 2022 season. The facility itself, some aspects of it will be ready next season. All aspects of it will not be, at least right now on our timeline. So we're evaluating those options and what those look like moving forward. Our Razorback baseball fans are very passionate. They'll be the first ones to know.
Is it really?
Tell Mike to stay tuned.
Is it refreshing, though, to see something like that continuing to happen in the atmosphere that we are right now, where everything seems to be so stagnant? You continue to have this baseball facility down the street that is continuing to be built, and something to look forward to.
Absolutely. I don't drive by as many times as Coach Van Horn does a week, but I drive by a couple of times a week past that facility, as well as our high-performance track and field facility that's underway right there at the outdoor track and field beside Bud Walton Arena. And it's really neat that our general contractor and their construction teams are able to continue working on those facilities.
All of us have tried to pick up some new hobbies. You have any new hobbies you've tried to pick up during this time?
Well, I don't have any new hobbies. I have an older hobby that I've tried to fine tune. The boys and I have played more golf in the last 5 weeks than I played in the last 5 years. It's been a really bonding opportunity for me and my 3 boys to go out and play golf together and have some father-son bonding. And so that's probably, I don't know that that's a new hobby, but that's a hobby I've been able to pick back up again. And Jennifer and I will tell you, we think we've got 2 of the most in-shape dogs in all of Fayetteville, as many walks as we've taken dogs on.
All right, so I have to ask you, what was your score before you started playing more, and what's the score now?
Oh, it was over 100 before I started playing. It's still over 100. That's I don't get many breaks out at the Blessings where I play most of the time.
Yeah. Are you as competitive as Michael Jordan was on a golf course?
I will tell you that me and my boys are all very competitive.
Okay.
There's a little bit of trash talking that goes on every hole. We play what we call cart golf, and it's Ryan and Brooks versus Jake and I, and we've had some pretty good matchups so far.
Well, that'll be if I ever see you out there, I'll critique some of that golf game for you.
Okay, that sounds good. It needs some critiquing. There's no doubt about it, Alyssa.
Well, I really appreciate the time, Hunter. And again, I know more than anybody, you are excited to hopefully see Arkansas athletics in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for all you do for our community.
Thank you, and thank you for the time.